Welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa, the friendliest service club in town. My name is Rhonda Daniel. I'm your club president, and we are so glad that you are with us today. I hope you have found your little treat on your table, and happy Valentine's Day. If you don't have a Valentine, you can be our Valentine. So as we have the volunteers come forward, go ahead and come on stage. Past President John O'Connor will lead the invocation. Song and pledge, Jerry Murator. We had a little switch there. And thank you, Tom, for playing the piano. And visitor introduction will be Tom Payne. Past President John.
Please join me in prayer. Our Father in heaven, thank you for inspiring us to become Rotarians and for challenging us daily to put service of others above serving ourselves. Thank you for leading us to embrace the four-way test as a code for our businesses and our lives. We want always to know and speak the truth. We will make all of our deals fair to all concerned. We will build goodwill and better friendships in Tulsa and in Oklahoma, the United States, and in the world. We want our lives to benefit all concerned. Thank you for this great nation founded on your justice and mercy. We humble ourselves before you. Please bless our time together today and this meal. Amen.
Please join me in the singing of America, followed by the pledge. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land. Freedom reign. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning and good afternoon now to everyone, and want to congratulate all of the Rotarians who have brought guests today, and we have a great list of guests. This is club number 2500 and 6110. We always say that. I will introduce first our visitors and their business, and followed by their host. Vanessa Komara, would you please stand, and we'll hold our applause. She is with Komara Marketing, brought by our own Rotarian Corey Nickerson. Marge Betley with the Alzheimer Association, brought as a guest of Greg Weber. Richard Koenig of the Tulsa Opera is a guest of Greg Weber. Kimberly Cummings, Just the Beginning, a guest of Dell Snowberger, as well as Janice Jones from Just the Beginning, and Angel Lewis, all three guests of Dell Snowberger. Dave Block of Bright Star Care of Tulsa, please stand, of Catherine DeCamp is her host, his host. And next is Jimmy Phillips, the guest of Josh Herlin. Kate Sylvie is our guest today, guest of Bill Richard. And a lady all the way from Germany, Froika Quiroga. Would you please stand? She's from Germany and a guest of Dana Burks. Mindy Strain is a guest. She's from Spirit Bank and Rotaract Club, a guest of Alicia Herrera, as well as our president, Rhonda Daniel. And it says here, bill it to Rhonda. Bianca Silvar is a friend and a guest of Alicia Herrera. Georgia Snoke is the wife of our Rotarian, Ken Snoke. And finally, Adam Stogner from Manhattan, I assume that's construction, a guest of Alicia Herrera. Let's give all these a warm welcome. And then we have any visiting Rotarians? I did not get that list. Any visiting Rotarians? Gone once? Twice? None. Thank you and welcome. Come back.
Thank you, volunteers. And I would like to recognize this week's Rotary sponsor and thank him for supporting our club activities, and that sponsor is John Stava with Stava Building Corporation. We encourage you to do business with your fellow Rotarians. Now let's take a moment and thank our volunteers who came early to make this meeting run smoothly. Let's give them a round of applause. Couple announcements. Congratulations to Greg Weber, please stand, who has earned his blue badge after attending this past Monday's board meeting. Yay! Welcome. And now we have someone very special coming up here. I don't know what in the world she would be talking to us about. Let's find out.
Could it be a party? President Rhonda, thank you for this time. I think on the screens you're going to be able to see now the invitation that will be coming out in the mail, leaving the office on Friday, and you should receive it on Valentine's Day. It certainly looks different from the graphics that I put up a couple of weeks ago, which I forgot that Ron Butler has designed this beautiful invitation, and it will be in the mail. I'm very excited also to let you know that the room will be full that evening. It's going to be full with VIPs from all over the district, from the nation, and coming from Canada, a Rotary past international president, Wilf Wilkinson, will be joining us. From the Oklahoma City Capitol building, Governor Fallon will be joining us as well. Also, I think that many of you will be very excited to know that from Denver, Colorado, you will have the opportunity once again to welcome our past executive director for 27.5 years, Margaret White, will be coming to be here this evening. Also, March the 4th, do not miss, that is the opening of the Rotary Club of Tulsa Centennial Time Capsule. The oversight by Ed Monette should make it quite interesting, March the 4th. So, President Rhonda, it's an exciting time for our club. People everywhere will be getting their invitations. I encourage you to get those back ASAP. The room is not that large, and we know it's going to be full. So if you want to sit together with your own personal Rotary friends, remember, your invitations and your checks all have to come back in one envelope. We'll see that you are seated together. Thank you very much, President Rhonda.
Thank you, Past President Linda. And I believe those invitations are going to be received on Valentine's Day. Isn't that correct? Isn't that a present from you to them? All right, very good. We have one committee meeting today, Above and Beyond's Award in room 232. And now, thank you, Dale Snowberger, we have some community funds grant checks to give away.
Okay. With me today is Denise Jones, the Executive Director of an organization called Just the Beginning. The Grants Committee approved $5,000 for her worthy endeavor, her organization. And at this point, Janice will explain how the money will be used and what her organization does.
Thank you, Dell. My journey began when I married my childhood sweetheart, who became addicted to crack cocaine. My crucial struggle with codependency started in this 13-year marriage when I realized the struggle was much greater than what I knew, which fueled my desire to serve and empower individuals and to self-sufficiency. In 2009, Just the Beginning became a 501c3 organization when my co-executive director, Kimberly Cummings, was incarcerated for drugs. She was in addiction for 23 years and as a survivor of childhood trauma and was facing a mandatory 10-year prison sentence as a first-time nonviolent offender. Kimberly and I began in 2010, and we have served over 500 individuals. With this grant, we created an adult literacy program, and we have partnered with the Tulsa County Jail and Going Hard for Christ Church. We are doing great work through diversionary programs, which is why Kimberly is with us today, celebrating 6 years of sobriety, full restoration with her 3 children, a bachelor's degree, and a dedicated taxpayer. It is time to go to the next level. We need legislative change to take place in the laws of our state that govern nonviolent offenders. And in closing with this scripture, 1 Corinthians 2:9, what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, what no mind can conceive, what God is going to do for those who love him. Thank you, Rotary Club of Tulsa.
Good morning. Hey, wake up out there, you guys. One of the benefits of serving on the Club Foundation's grants committee is that you get exposed to all or a lot of the programs and activities that happen around Tulsa. People are trying to help people, and it's just really rewarding to see all the activity and all the commitment that the people have around the city. Today, we're presenting a check for $4,000 to the Tulsa Library Trust. And here to tell us how the grant will be used is Tulsa County Library Development Coordinator, Kate Silvey. Kate?
Thank you, Bill. I am Kate Silvey with the Tulsa Library Trust, which is the nonprofit fundraising arm of the Tulsa City County Library. I hope you all have your library cards, and if not, find me after. I can help you out. We are so grateful to the Rotary Club of Tulsa for your generous support of our after-school homework clubs. These are located at 8 of our 24 branches, and they provide alternative methods of learning, one-on-one tutoring, group tutoring to children in age of grade 3 through 8. And it's a safe environment for kids after school, provides them with additional educational help that they might need when they're facing a little bit of a challenge in a subject or just need some one-on-one care and attention. So your funds are going to support that very vital program to some wonderful, wonderful kids in our community. So thank you again. We really appreciate your support.
All right, Dell and Bill, be sure to get them a membership application. We need you in our club. I love your enthusiasm. All right, Stu, what do you have in store for us?
Well, it's time again for Camp Enterprise. Real quick, raise of hands, who has participated in Camp Enterprise in the past? Don't lie, come on. There's a lot of you out there. Now, here's the challenge. I want your name on one of those pieces of paper in the lobby before you leave, or someone from your table. So one of you can talk to someone at your table, someone that's new to the club that hasn't experienced this really awesome part of our club, and get their name on that list. I'm short about 8 counselor volunteers, overnight stayers, and then we love to have plenty of people down during the day to help with the companies, with the kids. This year it's April 9th through the 12th. We have a new venue. It's New Life Ranch. It's better accommodations for lodging. I think Eric's in Candyland with his new conference center. There's so many AV hookups. He's like, I don't know which thing I'm going to use. Where last year he was using a phone to record another phone onto the projector. I mean, that man can pull out anything. But this year we've really outdone ourselves in the camp, the quality, and we're saving money too. So it's an hour straight drive down 412, and you're at the camp. So none of you have any excuse not to join. Now, I understand you can't do all the 4 nights, so that's why on the sheets there's which nights and which days you can participate. So please see me before you leave. It's out and by the badges. I will hunt you down, and you need to put your name down. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Stu. And Matthew Bristow has some very generous people this week, so you have several slides for us today.
I do. I may have exceeded my limit of 6. But I wasn't here last week, so I'm taking the average of 2. Slides? All right. Well, this week, given that it's Valentine's Day, we have a little love in the air. And if you look a little further back, the first one up today was Dana and Michael Burks. So I sent Dana a note saying, it's your wedding anniversary in case you've forgotten, on February 5th. And she said, I'll give $22, and we'll see if Michael will also step up. And he said, of course I will. And then I don't know if you know I was copied on it, because he finished the email and said, your passionate best friend for 22 years. I love you immensely.
Aww.
So I had to share that. And there's more love in the air. Matt Davis gave money for 29 years in Rotary. and 15 months of wedded bliss. So $44. Thank you, Matt. All right, Chip gave $2 for his son, Alan Edwards V, who's a future Rotarian, no doubt, who's turning 2 in February, $1 for his daughter, Natalie, who'll be 1 in March, and a $47 late fee for his birthday in January. So thank you very much. $50 from Chip. Our maestro had a birthday, turning 50 on February 9th. So thank you very much, Tom, for everything you do for this club and for your donation. So this is one of the most prompt finds for a new member in the club. I was approached on the day she joined. Catherine had a birthday on January 17th, and she actually wanted me to note that she was a attendee of Celia Clinton when she was 2nd grade, so she gave $53 for Celia Clinton. Welcome to the club, and thank you, Catherine. All right, Dave Moore had a birthday on February 5th and gave $56, so thank you very much, Dave. At some point, I am going to put up the photo that's on DACDB, so don't issue another fine because it'll be there. If anyone hasn't seen it, go check it out. It's brilliant. So far, #1 Sarge Award for the most different from photo to current, what he looks like. Just saying, get on DACDB. It's brilliant. I'm probably going to have to pay a fine for that. Joy Walker had a birthday on February the 5th. Very generous, $100. Thank you, Joy. Right back there. Tom Monahan, who's got an upcoming birthday on February 17th, is going to be 85, and he gave us $100. So thank you very much, Tom. Matt Newman, one of my multiple finees. I saw Matt up here. Matt had a piece on OETEA's Oklahoma Horizon TV talking about Cavanta's sustainability initiatives and the energy from waste program we talked about before. It was a great piece. Matt also wanted me to highlight that if anyone has narcotics they want to dispose of that can be turned into clean energy, there's a link on here, and Matt gave us $100. So thank you for the work you do, and appreciate it. One of my buddies, Vic Morgan, who I saw this morning, and he said he would probably be, is he here? Aha, he is here. Vic had his birthday on January 19th. The late fee is included in the $150. Thank you very much, Vic. So I did not see Chief Jordan here today, but he was kind enough to give us $50 for every year he's been in Rotary so far. It was on February the 8th. Thank you very much, Chuck, for everything you do. On the condition of anonymity, one of our Rotarians had a birthday, or will have a birthday on February 14th, and gave $200, so thank you. Do you know who you are? And finishing with a little more love in the air, Charlie Nind is celebrating 25 years of marriage to Mary and also 25 years in Rotary, so gave $250. Thank you very much, everyone.
I think 25 years as a Rotarian and 25 years of marriage, that's means something there. If you join Rotary, your marriage lasts or something. Just saying. Okay, and now we have the Rotarian of the Day, Scott Philstrup. Scott Philstrup is the president of the Consultants Limited. He joined our club in July 1980. He's a Club Foundation Fellow, MSNI Ambassador, and a Paul Harris Fellow. Please welcome this week's Rotarian of the Day, Scott Philstrup.
Thank you, President Rhonda. It's a great honor to have Greg Weber, the new Managing Director and new Rotarian, as our speaker today. And it's very appropriate that on April 1st, we're celebrating 100 years of this fantastic Rotary Club. But in 1904, well before Rotary started here, opera first came to Tulsa. In 1906, as the city became a boomtown, a grand opera house was built. And opera has been a major part of our community, and I'm pleased to see that during our centennial dinner, while we're going to have singing and opera, so that's going to be very much appreciated. So opera is important, and Greg's experience is very vital to the success, the growth, and the vitality of Tulsa Opera going forward. He was very successful throughout his career in Houston, Texas, and in Rochester, New York, and most recently in San Francisco. I was head of the search committee for Tulsa Opera, and we did a global search, and we had 16 candidates that rose to be considered. And on June of this year, I was fortunate enough to be in San Francisco and had breakfast with Greg Weber. At that time, I knew he'd be an ideal person to lead Tulsa Opera in the future and also to become a Rotarian. My pleasure to introduce Greg Weber, General Director of Tulsa Opera, fellow Rotarian.
Thank you, Scott, President Rhonda. It's a delight to be here today, but I'm going to raise the standards for all future speakers because we're going to start, before I talk, we're going to actually give you a treat with a little preview to Romeo and Juliet. So if the performers that I brought here today, I have soprano Elizabeth Kelsey. Thank you for coming, Elizabeth. And tenor Pedro Willis Barbosa. And they'll be accompanied by Valerie Poole. They're going to sing the madrigal duet from Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet opens on Friday night, so if you haven't made your Valentine's Day plans, especially gentlemen, certainly there are some tickets available, and there's also Sunday performance. So without any further ado, let's first start and let's hear Elizabeth and Pedro in the madrigal duet.
Oh
That was fantastic. If you want to hear more of that, don't hesitate to come out this weekend to the Performing Arts Center to see Romeo and Juliet. Boy, we got a treat for you. You know, it's really important every day of our life, I really believe this, to have some type of beauty and to also know that we all have a muse in our life. I'm very fortunate. I want to thank Scott and President Rhonda for having me here today. I want to thank all of you for inviting me into the Rotary. But also, I want to send a special thank you out to the person who is my muse and who is my beauty in everyday life, Marge Bentley. Thank you for being here today. So, I saw my first opera when I was 21 years old. So I wasn't actually one of those people who saw an opera when they were very, very young. It wasn't until I was 21, and actually it was under duress. I know, it's a surprise. But I was, in my senior year at Ball State University in Indiana, I was a design student there, and I decided in my senior year that I could misbehave. Well, my instructors decided that that was not appropriate. So as punishment, they sent me to the music department in the spring. So, and as my punishment, I had to design and work with the opera department on their spring show. And yes, Joseph, I was punished by going to the music department. However, from those early beginnings, I began being around those singers. I began focusing on the economics of art. And at that point, at that early stage, when I actually recognized what these people did, how they did it, and how it changed my life, I focused for the next 30 years. I began a love affair with what I feel is the greatest art ever created by man. And I focused all of my energies on the economics of art and being a capitalist among the singers. Just a little background. Art is the second oldest profession known to man. After the other item, we all wrote about it, drew about it, and did other things. So theater has its foundations. It has its foundations in the ancient tribal ritual. Tribal dances celebrating festivals, celebrating holidays, celebrating victories. All of this they had to do as a group, in a community, together, whether it's around a fire, whether it's in a theater. They had to celebrate the greatness of what it means to be human, of what it means to work, be alive in the civilized world. And then remember, this type of theater is participatory, and still today it needs to be participatory. The entire tribe had to be at the celebration, and all of this by being there. If you weren't there, then you could not ensure to your people, to your city, to your population, the health and sustainability of the community. From the very early days, art equals community. And then each era after that, the Greeks, the Elizabethans, they all continued to use theater in this same way. They used music to celebrate harvest, victories, holidays, coliseums, and then theaters were built, constructed to allow thousands in the community to attend. And why? The arts unified the city. They unified the city around politics. They unified the city around central platforms. They unified the city inside of personality and visceral need of what it means to be a Tulsan. The arts also were used to gain favor. All of this is still true today. The arts are a platform for a community to speak to itself and to the world. Remember the 9/11 services. How did we celebrate that loss? How did we celebrate those people who gave their lives? We did it through song. We did it through psalms. We did it through architecture. That is who we are. That's how we speak to ourselves and our future generations. I have two boys. One is 23, he's a graduate student studying physics, and the other one is 15 years old. And I take all of my boys to everything. I take them to, I'll take them to a lecture, I'll take them to a hockey game, and I'll take them to the arts. My oldest son, when he was about 5 or 6, Martin, we went to the ballet for the first time. We went to see Nutcracker down at the Houston Grand Opera. And the curtain goes up, the dancing starts after the overture. Martin already had been to theater and opera, and he turns to me a little bit in and he says, Dad, when do they sing? And I looked at him and I said, Martin, they don't sing. They don't sing. Kind of crosses his arms and says, okay. A couple more minutes go by and he says, Dad, when do they talk? Well, Martin, they don't talk. This time his brow furrows and he looks around and then he looks at me and he says, Dad, what's the point? Now, Martin went on to play in his band. He was in marching band. He loves modern dance, but sad to say he has not become a ballet fan. But he does like the arts, and he does like science. So that then brings my question. So with the arts, what's the point? What's the point of the arts? Why do 42% of the countries in the world have at least one opera company? Why do we have 125 opera companies here in the United States? Performance, music, theater, dance, drama. These are the way our forefathers celebrated and measured success of their economies. The same is true today. We celebrate our victories through song. Through our art, we pass to the next generation all the value as a society that we have. We celebrate the life of a community theater, of a community leader. How do we celebrate that? We have a mass. We recite psalms. We sing. We glorify the strengths of that person in our community through artwork around town. Art is relevant. Art is part and ingrained in our economy. The economics of art still represent all the necessary tools of civic leaders and for civic leaders here in the 21st century, just as it did all throughout our history. If a city is prospering, if it's wealthy, if it wants to attract smart, bright professionals to excel growth, it will and does have an active art scene. Look across not just the country, but the world, and you'll see those cities that have active art scenes also are showing economic growth. Art, like opera, are good for business and good for all of us in our community. And yet I know there's a lot of folks out there, when I talk about art, and I've talked to a lot of people in a lot of different cities about art, and I say art equals economics, you all kind of say, well, really, what's the facts? What really matters? And I say, look at the data. Strong arts and strong economies, though, like everything strong, like everything that we believe in, if you want to have a great future, the first thing you do is you invest in education and school. So let's go to that particular data. Our graduation rate in the United States, when compared to other civilized countries, and you all have heard this many times, I'm not telling you anything new, our graduation rate is much, much lower than other industrialized nations, even though we spend more per capita on every one of our students. We outspend everybody else in the world on our students. And yet in Asia, Scandinavia, and many European countries, their students year after year excel in math and science. In those countries that excel, they have one thing in common, the ones that excel in math and science. They teach the arts at the same level, the same hours per week, as do math and science. Their students, as I said, with that equivalency, rank the highest in the world in all areas. Is there a connection between teaching math and science along the arts? There are lots of studies out there. You guys can read them. I'm not going to talk to you about too many of those studies today. But we certainly, as a country, have seen what happens when we do not teach arts at the same level as science and math. We have seen what happens to our SAT scores, and we have seen what happens to our interest in math and science. So the economics of art. I think the arts are an equalizer. The arts are a place where students, especially those kids who may not be thriving in areas of study, I don't know about you, but I did struggle in calculus. However, I was fortunate enough to be able to go next to my literature class, and I could release some of that stress in it. So I believed I could then succeed the next day in calculus. Why? Because I could relieve myself of the stress of not being as smart as some other people at calculus. And I do believe that these kids, like me, that cannot excel in that, need a place to release. They can contribute to their community and find expression for their intelligence as an equal expression of intelligence as anyone who studies and excels in math and science and technology, as well as they will build self-confidence and a strong self-identity. Those are keys to success. Self-confidence, strong self-identity. You can find that in the arts. If the arts were not so important to our young people, if they did not feel intrinsically, viscerally, that it was as important to them as their work, their math, their science, then why do 80% of our young adults use electronic media to view, create, and edit art? Not their math, not their science project. They continue to go back for it because they need it. Art is in here. And yet more than 54% of adults today have not, probably maybe many of you, I hope not, have not had any arts education in their lives. More than 40% of secondary schools do not require coursework to qualify for graduation. The Ready to Innovate report, I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. The Ready to Innovate report is a report done by the top CEOs in the country about what's needed to be successful. In that report, it states that creativity is one of the top 5 skills sought in hiring, and goes on to say that arts supply the skills necessary to be successful in the 3rd millennium. One of the top 5 skills necessary that we CEOs are looking for is creativity, and yet 4 in 10 students don't even have an art class before they graduate from high school. No art, no music, nothing in the United States. When I look at this, I think about Albert Einstein. If you didn't know, Albert Einstein loved music, and he was a violinist. I remind people that what Albert Einstein said, logic can get you from A to B. Logic easily gets you A to B, but imagination gets you everywhere. My son, who's studying physics, pointed out to me, he said, "Dad, you know," he said, "I'm glad I had art in my life." He said, "because I really want to be successful in physics." And Dad, do you realize that of the Nobel laureates, any Nobel laureate in science is 17 times more likely to have arts in their life than any regular scientist? Nobel laureates, 17 times more likely to have arts in their life. Since 2002, 71% of our nation's school districts have reduced time spent on art, social studies, and history. I like history, so I'm worried about if you don't study the past, remember, what will you do? You're doomed to repeat it. We are missing an important part of who we are as a civilization. And what has made us great, what we are known worldwide, and those of you that travel know that what we are known about and known for, Americans have the ability to imagine and create out of nothing. Without art in our schools and art education and art in our communities, we lose that edge, and that is truly an American edge. To think beyond the tables and charts, to think big, to think beyond who we are in this room, you need the ability to imagine, create, and dream. I never got that in a calculus formula, but I did get it when I read a book. You know, No Child Left Behind, and I'm a big, I like No Child Left Behind. I've argued with a lot of teachers about this, but I like it. I really believe that where it started, it had a good idea. However, it does not include the arts. It's a wonderful painting. It's a fantastic painting of where we should be at. However, the painting without the arts in it is only black and white. It has no color. To excel as a nation, we really do need to be capitalists among the singers. Through arts education, we will teach our children to see that which is invisible to others. That, being able to see what no one else can see, that is the truest and most powerful tool of any leader and of any country. You may be aware that the Arts and Humanities Council of Tulsa joined with the Kennedy Center. This is a great program in implementing a national initiative called Ensuring Arts for Any Given Child. The Kennedy Center is supported by the federal government, and they actually say, without arts in your life, children will suffer. This is a plan for, the Any Given Child is a plan for expanding the arts in education for schools in grades K through 8. The council has gotten all of the arts organizations in town, every one of us, all of the nonprofits to support that. Tulsa Opera has the 2nd grade class. So we take an opera every year to every Tulsa 2nd grader inside of the city. But we do more than that. We take along teaching materials. We involve them in the product. Remember what earlier I said, is that if you want the arts to represent your community, it has to be part of the community. You have to come up and sing. And yes, at some point, I'll get you all singing on the stage at Tulsa Opera. And then we have the children in every performance. We act as an arts educator. That is part of our job in the community. That's one of our roles, is to act that out. And this year, we'll touch about 23,000 students over 5 different states with this particular program. 23,000 students in rural areas. Some people have never, ever even heard classical music before, but we will take it through it. We take it through that with support from folks like you. But we don't stop there. We also invite kids locally into our final dress rehearsal, which is tonight. How many of you brought people from Cecilia Clinton to the final dress rehearsal of Cinderella? Did you? Did you watch? Thank you all for that. That was fantastic. Did you see the eyes? Did you see those kids? How they paid attention? How they were alert? How they connected to the singers? They didn't just connect to the singers. They connected to the community. Why? Because there were 1,400 people there that night that they experienced this with. You took these, the Rotary took people from the community to say, this is your product. This is your future. This is Tulsa, and you're a part of that. And you help those people connect inside of what's important to our community. Arts education equals good economics. Without an investment in the arts, we lose creativity necessary to invent and grow as a nation. You know, I'm looking around and I'm seeing you looking at me and say, but Greg, believing in the arts is a risk. You know, you heard the songs. It's this ephemeral thing that we can feel. What are the facts? Growing in arts education, growing arts in education is a risk, but it's a risk you can control. Not including the arts in our economy. Folks, that's an uncontrollable risk. Did any of you watch the Super Bowl? Who watched the Super Bowl? Did you watch the halftime show? Yeah? Did you see Katy Perry flying around and doing that? You know, to do that effect, that's a rigging effect, and you have people in the arts industry who are especially trained to do that. When I was in Houston, I actually choreographed singers to fly. That was part of my job. We would engineer and design the harness for them. We would pick them up because the harnesses for singers are very different. But trying to convince a singer to fly 40 feet in the air in the dark, sing on a piece of 3/16-inch cable, that's quite a sales pitch, right? So how did we get that singer to do it? We simply ran her or him through the facts. The facts will keep you safe. What are the economics of art facts? According to a study by the Oklahoma Arts Council, the arts in Oklahoma are a $315 million industry, providing 10,000 statewide jobs and generating $29 million in state and local revenue. That's just in Oklahoma. Nationally, in 2010, the arts pumped $61.1 billion into the U.S. economy. Now that number, that $61 billion, only represents the cost of a ticket. Once you add in the ancillary money involved inside of what you spend, whether it's babysitters, gas stations, parking fees, etc., that's another $25 to $40 that we each spend per night. That cranks another $74 billion into our community. So therefore, in 2010, the arts generated $74 billion into our economy. If you look at economic impact studies, for those of you economists out there, that's a $135 billion economic impact, providing $16 billion in federal and local tax revenue, and generating 4 million jobs. 4 million jobs in 2010. We generated those. The U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis report shows that the arts comprise 3.25% of the country's GDP. 3.25%. Doesn't sound like much, but that is a larger share of the economy than tourism and agriculture. It's much bigger than tourism and agriculture, we in the arts. The export of all arts. Now, inside of this number, I'm including movies, jewelry, books, touring shows. I am including everything here. In the same year, the arts exported $72 billion. We imported $25 billion. That's a $47 billion surplus generating into our economy in 2010. The arts and economics? Yeah, we understand it. We don't just sing. We also understand the bottom line. But let's take a look closer to home. In 2013, the 5 largest nonprofit arts groups in Tulsa: the Philbrook, the Gilcrease, the Ballet, the Opera, and the Symphony. Those are the 5 largest nonprofits, combined for total expenses in 2013 of $27.4 million, with attendance of approximately 365,000 people. These companies provide Tulsa with a $35.4 million economic impact, providing 1,200 full-time equivalent jobs and a household income to Tulsans of about $29 million. Now this number, these are only 5 of the large nonprofits. This number does not include anything at the BOK Center, does not include celebrity attractions or any of the smaller arts organizations. That's a lot of money cranking into Tulsa economy. Now let's look just at Tulsa Opera, my company, in 2014. In 2014, Tulsa Opera had a community economic impact of about $3.4 million, and we provided 114 full-time jobs, generated household income of $2.7 million. Now I want to focus on the household income, because an item that sometimes people forget about the nonprofits is that 85% to 90% of the people we employ live, stay, own, rent here in Tulsa. We're not one-nighters. We don't bring money in and send money out. The nonprofit art company, not just Tulsa Opera, but all of my sister companies, whatever we grow here, we keep here. So that economic impact is huge of what we do. I told you earlier that generally a population will spend $25 to $40 per person. That's in addition to the ticket price that they pay. So remember, that was for restaurants, gas stations, babysitters, and things like that. So there's an economic impact outside of just going to the arts. Nationwide, about 60% of all non-local arts attendees say that the only reason they visit a city is to attend arts and cultural events. 60% of the people that come here look for culture and art before they even consider us. For Tulsa Operas, just again, bringing it close to home, our fall production of Cinderella, 50% of the people that attended that bought single tickets were outside of Tulsa. 50%. These are people that came to restaurants, went to bars afterwards, had babysitters. Everything that benefits the arts benefits our community. This is the economics of arts in our area. The arts are one of the drivers of our local economy. They're not the only one, but they are an important driver. The arts strengthen the most important pillars of our society: education, religion, politics, economy, and family. Yes, family. How many of you remember your mother or your father, a brother, an uncle, singing to you as a child, reading to you? Do you remember that? That's the arts. That's speaking to you of what's important to you in your family. The arts have been the backbone for us for thousands of years. For all of our showmanship, we in the arts, though, have always been willing to take a back seat to math and science. We know that's important. But I believe because we've taken a back seat to math and science, that we as a country have fallen behind. I really, truly believe that, and I am a capitalist here. I believe that we in the arts now need to step up and make a difference. We need to be equal to math and science, and we need your help, because if you practice economics of art, each one of you can be a capitalist among the singers. If you want to build the ship to prosperity in our city, in Tulsa, we must do more than simply bring tools. We have to do more than supply the lumber of engineering, the lumber of math. First, before we do that, we must get this city, our people, our children, to dream, to imagine, to create the immensity of the sea of success. You can do that in here, and you can do that in here, and the arts are the conduit for that. That's how you find the reason and the vision to build that ship to success. In the arts, we aren't the sails or the rudders. I don't kid myself. But we are the wind, and we are the waves that drive this ship to success. Arts equal economics. Come on, be a capitalist among the singers. Thank you all. I have a few minutes. I'm happy to take any questions, even about places I've worked and things I've done, if there are any questions. Yeah. Beg your pardon? Does the opera cover its annual budget? I will, you know, what you'll find with me is I'm an honest guy. Sometimes yes and sometimes no. We do. We work very hard. We rely on 80% of the arts organization's monies that come in. Typically about 80% are all contributions. So we rely on contributions. If we had to charge a ticket price, I believe our top line ticket price is about $105. Our bottom is about $25. If we had to actually charge a ticket price, we would be over $350 to $400 if we operated as a capitalist and as a nonprofit. So sometimes yes and sometimes no. Right now, we are having our best year ever. So we are delighted, thanks to a wonderful staff. Other questions? Yeah. How many kids are we expecting at dress rehearsal tonight? Over 950, almost 1,000. And if you come, you're going to see people not just, when those lights go down, they're not going to be fidgety and running around the room. No, they're going to be attentive. And actually, I bet they follow the opera better than even I do. Yeah.
How amazed were you at Sarah Coburn's voice?
How amazed am I at Sarah Coburn's voice? I have heard... I've been in the business about 30 years. I've been, I think, to 70 or 80 different countries producing, and every time I hear a voice that has, it's not just about how you reach the note, it's about how you bring the drama and how you help an audience feel. And when you can find someone who not only can sing well, but who also makes you feel as though they're singing to you, that's pretty special. And you should know that I'm glad you talked about Sarah. We have here our own Nightingale, Sarah Coburn, who will be singing this weekend. She is one of the most special voices in the world, and this is coming from a guy who's been to about 150, 160 opera houses. Any other question? Great. If you have any other questions, I'll be happy to talk to you afterward. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. That was so interesting, and I wish we could clap for those singers again, but they had to slip out, but that was very enjoyable. A book recognizing today's program will be presented to our partner in education school. I was teasing him about this earlier, Greg, earlier, Madman of Piney Woods. So I thought that was appropriate. He's a madman of the opera. Okay, we have some upcoming programs. February 18th, Above and Beyonds, that is next week. Gosh, be sure you come. This is one of my favorite programs. My father was Assistant Chief of Police, so this is near and dear to my heart, and I just absolutely love this program, and I know the committee does a lot of work. And then we have February 25th. You don't want to miss that one either. We're going to have, if you are an animal lover, you might want to make sure you come to that one, not because Steve is an animal or anything, but there's something special there. Okay, as we conclude, I hope you will each take a box of chocolates, enjoy your Valentine's Day, and I have a special song for you today. It's Cupid. Have a great week.